Reference issued 3 important recommendations to activate the private sector and solve the problem of higher degrees. Expanded. August 2, 2019, 14:07. Karbala Holy Euphrates News issued the Supreme Religious Authority 3 important recommendations to stimulate the private sector and promote it and solve the problem of holders of higher degrees in Iraq. The representative of the Supreme Authority in Karbala, Sheikh Abdul Mahdi al-Karbala, said in a Friday sermon delivered from inside the courtyard Husseini Sharif, the media circulate a collection of sit-ins expressing their legitimate demands as citizens of this country and demand their employment in their scientific specialties. He added that these represent the elite and made extraordinary efforts in a long period until they reach this scientific stage of the specialized and accurate certificates that the country needs. And perhaps these represent the class of the most outstanding in the segment of society and made an exceptional and difficult during a long period to this stage and after these efforts and the accompanying hope that they can provide great service to their country and their people, and if they find themselves diverted their hopes and wasted their efforts as they aspire to achieve them a decent life, and if thousands of these find themselves unwilling to places that fit their testimony to benefit, he said. Sheikh Karbala that some invoke that the functional capacity does not meet the need of these, including that the government sector of the job overloaded by the many appointments and the financial situation does not help to accommodate these, as well as graduates of colleges and universities and the large number of unemployed we are in front of the complaint of many of these. We refer to 3 important recommendations and our call to the concerned parties to pay serious attention to the holders of higher degrees according to the legal entitlement of these and others and develop solutions commensurate with the reality of Iraq and financial. Noting that these recommendations related to the economic situation and part of it as campaign graduate degrees, the representative of the Supreme referenced that the first recommendation is that experts and specialists and the economy are constantly raising the need to provide an important and significant input to provide employment opportunities in the private sector is disabled in Iraq for reasons not difficult to address if there is serious oil and adequate legislative facilities and administrative facilities to revitalize the sector. Many neighboring and developing countries, some of which have developed their economy, tackled the problem of unemployment through it, and made great strides in the economic development of various sectors through adopting a rational policy in supporting this sector, protecting it. Imams to take the economic and humanitarian role in absorbing the workforce and scientific minds to the people of their countries, with the need to restrict the cutting regulations and instructions and seriousness in the holidays taking place for Samoda and competence. He pointed out that one of the most important requirements of the private sector is to provide a safe environment for investors and the hand of corrupt and amend laws that hinder work and do not help to achieve progress in comparison to what we see in other countries. When there is a weapon outside the state, the owners can deter those who do not like them from the owners of companies. First, respond to blackmail the men when the size of corruption and bribery in the institutions of the state, according to the current figures and statistics, and when the laws and instructions related to investment work old and obsolete, does not fit investment requirements in the current era and prevent the rise of the industrial and agricultural sector. No one expects any progress in this area. He pointed out that the second recommendation refers to the need to activate the private sector to accommodate graduates, and this does not mean exempting the public sector and the competent state departments from their responsibilities towards this important class. If the concerned authorities gave priority to those who deserve away from the relations and partisan interests and factionalism and provided some of them to others who important jobs and positions in government departments, and they are much lower in their scientific and professional levels, could solve an important part of the problem. Sheikh al-Karbala said, "It is necessary to develop a suitable program to identify the fields of education and scientific disciplines most needed for the country and to guide students to choose incentives stimulated by that, and what is noted from the large number of graduates in the areas of need, less so the recruitment of some of them in sites not related to their competencies. It is necessary not to go beyond the strict rules and regulations that govern the Iraqi educational institution and not allow the field August interests and the special purpose of damage to its position, which was distinct countries in the region and is not today. It is important that Osmj to intervene in the joints of the Ministry of Higher Education according to the whims and desires of others, especially in Ashur curricula and sending missions, fellowships and identification of the examination systems and the like. On the other hand, the representative of the Supreme reference called for the need to solve the problems of roads and tighten the irrigated controls to cope with human and material losses. He said that traffic accidents in the roads, called death methods, are a great concern because of the loss of life and disability of thousands of people, which exceed the mortality of serious diseases, and must be sufficient treatments, especially that there is negligence and insufficient attention to these incidents, which increases in every general ministries and provincial councils should pay adequate attention to improving roads. Sheikh al-Karbala called on citizens to take care of the safety measures because unfortunately we do not care about the men result in the loss of the lives of thousands. The driver is driving the driver illegally, ethically and legally. He risks his life and the lives of others. Unfortunately, we do not have this interest, he said. He also called on the traffic circles to emphasize and not tolerate the application of procedures, including the granting of market licenses. Abadi, draft 2020 budget is dangerous and destructive. Posted, August 2, 2019, 23:23. Baghdad, Al Furat News. The head of the coalition of victory, Haider Abadi, said the draft of the draft federal budget bill for 2020, it is a serious and destructive draft. In our time, we have cut back on unnecessary government spending. And because of the rise in oil prices for several years, from 2010 to, government spending has become enormous, Abadi said in an interview. We have cut this unnecessary spending over the past 4 years. The rest of the money for the reconstruction of the country and services and job creation, but we see that the government is expanding spending again seriously, and the draft budget for 2020 is a serious draft, in which a large deficit and unacceptable spending is a destruction of everything we have done in the past. He added that the question of security, because it inherited an excellent and good security, and assumed from the beginning of its work to complete the previous work, is to rebuild the security forces and be under the leadership of the state absolutely, and there is no weapon outside the state. And we note that there is a decline in this file and there is no progress. That's a big mistake. Al-Abadi stressed that the interests of Iraq first. We are dealing with neighboring countries, but we must not respond to all what they ask us. We have to cooperate with neighboring countries, and understanding with them for the common interest, across the common space between us. We noticed at first that the government opened the ports wide, and affected the local industry and agriculture. And there is a complaint that the opening of markets and ports without control will harm the local industry and agriculture, and this is a provision for the benefit of others in the interest of Iraq. Trump, the president of the Reserve, we have failed on the decision of interest rates. August 1, 2019. U.S. President Donald Trump said Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell failed to cut interest rates by a 0.25 percentage point on Wednesday, arguing that the market wanted a signal for the launch of a prolonged and aggressive rate cut. What the market wanted to hear from Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve is that this is the beginning of a long and aggressive cycle of interest rate cuts in the way China, the European Union and other countries are doing. Trump said in a tweet just hours after the U.S. Central Bank issued its latest policy statement around the world. As usual, Powell has failed us, but at least he is putting an end to the quantitative emphasis it should not have started, Trump said.